Let's see if the newest card to come out for Marvel Snap will barely change or will become a true emperor in the game. Find out what's going on as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So we got the last card to come out for the Young Avengers season, and that is Emperor Hulkling. Emperor Hulkling is a Skrull Kree hybrid born during the Kree-Skrull War from a fling between a Skrull princess and a Kree champion. The infant was sent to Earth for safekeeping, where he was raised as an Earthling. He was unaware of his extraterrestrial origins, and when his powers began to manifest, he believed himself to be a mutant, and kept the secret from his mother and tried to use this ability to fit in at school. Emperor Hulkling's powers left him increasingly out of place, and when he finally revealed his powers to another, instead of them helping out, they saw the advantages of this gift, and he was talked into doing many cons and pranks to keep this friend. That was until one day when he was at the wreckage of the Avengers Mansion and met Iron Lad. He was told the truth about his extraterrestrial heritage as a Skrull and was asked to help form the Young Avengers. Emperor Hulkling became an integral part of the team and has faced many conflicts that have tested his loyalties and interests, some of which have been due to the fact of his royal bloodline. Since he is the son of a Skrull princess, he is the rightful heir to the imperial throne, and therefore he was asked to become the emperor of the Kree-Skrull Alliance. But he had little interest for this claim, preferring to stay on Earth. Emperor Hulkling is impulsive and excitable, easygoing, polite, and respectful. He only really loses his temper after extreme provocation, and he will happily follow orders without thinking through the consequences of his actions. He frequently trusts his feelings to lead him. While sometimes he will adopt an aggressive persona to intimidate others while in battle, he rarely actually gets angry. However, it will happen if there is serious threat to those close to him. Emperor Hulkling has inherited the Skrull shape-shifting power from his mother. He can change his appearance to resemble others and has successfully impersonated others for extended periods. While his natural form is a human, he usually fights as a large Hulk-like creature, using superhuman strength as his main weapon, but he can alter his body for battle, growing wings when he needs to fly or gills when he needs to be underwater. While in combat, he will regenerate from damage quickly. Emperor Hulkling is a Skrull Kree hybrid who can change his appearance to resemble others for extended periods, but usually fights as a large Hulk-like creature. This is represented in Marvel Snap as when the game starts, he will change his ability, but only to that of a large Hulk-like creature. So in Marvel Snap, what he is he's a 6 cost 11 power that has the start of game effect. At the start of the game, he will copy the text of a random 6 cost card. Could be in your deck, could be out of your deck. Any 6 cost card will count. In my opinion, he is a 3-star card. Now let me go over some of the reasons why I'd give him that 3-star rating. Let's go over and look at some of the stuff I got for him. To start out with, let's talk about the card that he should be looked at and a couple of the other cards that work with him. Now, if you're just to look at him from a normal stat lines perspective, you're basically looking at an Orca that doesn't have its ongoing. A 6'11 is not that high of a stat stick. But to compare that to an Orca is kind of unfair. The closest card for how it really works might be the Valentina, where it will become a random 6-drop cost. Valentina was a lot cheaper too, but it also gave you that -3 power on it. But it also gave you that -2 cost. And that's part of the problem with this particular card, is the fact that it is a 6-cost card. If this card was a 5-cost card, this card would be ridiculous. The reason I think that they didn't make this a 5-cost card is simply because of Arishem, and the fact that they didn't want to give Arishem another good 5-drop card. The fact is that nobody is actually playing Valentina right now, and this is pretty much the same effect almost as Valentina, except for the fact that you have to play it on 6. Now, it does have some advantages, and it does have some drawbacks. Now, the thing is unlike High Evolutionary and the other start of game effects, like Arishem and even Thanos, Emperor Hulkling does not show you what they become at the beginning of the game. They almost are an on-draw effect, except you can actually get them off of like something like Cosmo or Lockjaw, I should say. And because you don't know what it's going to be at the beginning of the game, and you don't see what it's going to be at the beginning of the game, you don't really get that information to play around it. And because of how the game of Marvel Snap works, because it's only a 12-card game, a short game that you don't have many turns to play in, if you're looking to have a specific 6-drop in your deck, and you only have so many slots, you only have 12 slots in your deck. If you're looking for, say, a Odin, why aren't you playing Odin? And if you're looking for a second Odin, you're better off playing something like Iron Lad and hoping for the best that you get that second Odin. At least Iron Lad you can play out a turn early and get that ability. It also has the issue with the fact that it is Shang-Chiable, because it starts above 10. It's Shang-Chiable. If you're going to play this, you're most likely playing another 6. Now, you could play them in 2 lanes and basically say, well, you can't Shang-Chi all 3 lanes. But it's also always interesting when you play a card on turn 6 and your opponent plays something better. If you're playing a random 6-drop on turn 6 and your opponent is playing a 6-drop that is designed around their deck, good chances are you're going to lose that battle. Now, one of the advantages that you can have is by using magic. Going to that turn 7 and having that extra 6-drop when your opponent most likely doesn't have that extra 6-drop is an interesting way to go. The problem is most people are already running magic and are designed for that 7th turn. The other problem that you have right now is you have cards like Debris. Filling up your opponent's lanes is very common way for people to win games. And because you're using this card on this, you might not have the ability to play that early game and just get swarmed out, get flooded out, get taken out of the game because you have no spots to play it in. Another issue with this is kind of the fact that it kind of has like a morph-like ability. Because you don't know what it's going to be, you really can't build a deck around it. If your deck is all destroy, and the last card that you happen to get is null, then you're happy. But if your entire deck is destroy, and your Hulkling ends up being a She-Hulk, you really haven't done much with that. Now, there is something to be said about the whole Electro ramp. You can really play this if you have the card Blink, because a lot of times if you're trying to play a Blink deck, if you're playing the Blink deck that used to just do Electro and then like all 6-drops, you're running out of 6-drops. To find 10 good 6-drops is an issue, and this is a decently good enough 6-drop to run around. The other issue that you have to think about is that this doesn't work against Shadow King, because Shadow King's not going to take it back down to 0. So if you're trying to play Shadow King against this, it won't work, because it's still going to be the 11th. Now, it'll lose any extra power that it has, that's for sure. But some of the 6s are designed to be powerful because of their cost. They cost low because they are so powerful. The other thing that you got to kind of think about is stuff like Agent 13. When you're using cards like Agent 13, Agent Coulson, Nick Fury, even to a certain degree the Helicarrier, you have the surprise factor. Because you have that surprise factor, you can play somebody 2, 3, 4 games, even know that they have this card in their deck and not know what it's going to be. So it's great for stuff like that. Now, I will give a kind of a caveat on this, because this week's a really weird week, because right now, we have no idea what next month's going to look like. And theoretically, come next month, we're supposed to get a new keyword of activate. And once we get that keyword of activate, we have no idea what cards are supposed to get activated. Now, they haven't even said that any of the old cards would get activated. We are all hoping, we're all guessing that old cards, like possibly even Electron, gets the activate keyword. So, come 7 days from now, come a week from when this card comes out, every deck could be different, every deck could be new, every deck could be completely changed. We have no idea what cards, if any, are getting this activate ability. We don't even know if any card will get this activate ability other than the cards that are going to be brand new. And to add to that fact, because of the fact that it is a 6-drop, and it could become any 6-drop, down the line, if they make a bad 6-drop for whatever reason, if they make a good 6-drop down the line for whatever reason, this card's value changes. Every time they make a bad 6-drop, we're like, ooh, I don't like that 6-drop. Guess what? Emperor Hulkling could become that card. Every time they make a good 6-drop, you sit there and go, ooh, it could become that card. So you gotta kind of look at a card like this, because the problem, and maybe problem is not the right word, is that every single week, every single month, every single year, they're going to add more cards to Marvel Snap, which means that this card never has a solid point at which it's going to lock in what cards it can pull from. Not that long ago, it wanted to pull Mockingbird. Now Mockingbird's in its pool. Next week, for whatever reason, they could pull a card out of this that you're not expecting, and you invested those keys, you invested those coins into getting a card that no longer works for what you're trying to do. So let's go over some of its best pulls and some of its worst pulls, and then we will look at the rest of the cards that are available for this week. Alright, some of its worst pulls. We're going to look at Apocalypse. Good chance that you're not going to get any discard off Apocalypse. Good chance you're not running any discard off Apocalypse. Very few places locations have a discard text on them. So it's basically still going to be a 6/11, which isn't bad per se, but it's never going to get that +4. Next card that is really bad for you to get off of it is Giganto. You're losing 3 power off the Giganto. The Giganto legitimately can't be played but anywhere but the first location. You're basically locking this card away. On the same way, you gotta look at Infinite. Infinite, you're losing way more than just that power. You're basically halving the power of Infinite, and you can't play this pretty much at all. Next one that you gotta look out for is Destroyer. Destroyer is just gonna blow up your board unless you have something protecting it or something set up for it. You can't play this card. And if you can't play a card in the game, it's basically at least the equivalent of you didn't draw anything. Next card that's a bad card for is Thanos. Thanos isn't gonna get the stone, so therefore has no ways to pump itself up. And the last card that is a really bad card for this is Helicarrier. It's just one more point on Helicarrier. Good chances are, again, you're not going to be able to discard it to get the power off it. And even if you could, that's not what you kind of want to do with the Hulkling. Now let's look at some of the good drops that you can get off it. Really ridiculously good drop that you can get off of this is the Ultron. Ultron as a 6'11" is huge. There's a reason it's a 6'8". Galactus, if you can somehow manage to have a lane open or get Skrull down early, get Hulkling down early, I should say, that's a 6'11". That can win you a solo lane. Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom's one of the OGs. Him being 5, there's a reason he's a 5 and not an 11. The leader is going to not only be a 6'11" at that point, it's also going to get you whatever card your opponent played. That's going to win you a lane. Artem Zola. Artem Zola is designed to be a 0. The whole idea of Artem Zola is you lose the lane that you play the Artem Zola in. If you had any other 6 besides your Emperor Hulkling, you eat that and you get 2 of those and you still get the 11 points in whatever lane you had this in. And last but not least, good old Blob. Now the problem is Blob has changed a little bit, but it's going to start him at 11. Problem is he's still only going to be able to go into 13 because he's going to check at the 13 point and then look again. So it's not going to get you a whole bunch of it, but him to start at 11 is pretty nice. Other than the Hulkling this week, we've got Cannonball. Cannonball, unfortunately, has not seen play in a long time. Is a huge need for some sort of rework, some sort of buff, some sort of something. Other card that we have in this particular week is Nimrod. Nimrod is such an old card. Has been around for so long. It's one of the reasons that every once in a while I sit here and I go, we really need another Series 3 drop. These Series 3 drops need to happen quicker and they're happening. More cards need to end in them. Nobody plays Nimrod. Once in a while, Blue Moon, you'll see somebody play Nimrod, but it's not the card that it used to be. It's not a card that I would invest in. So right now, with these 3 up, this would be what I consider a save a key week. Until I know what we're going to look like for next month, I can't tell you how good or bad Emperor Hulkling is going to be. And even if nothing changes with the change to the activate cards, I don't see Hulkling as being a all-star. I see him as being a fair card. I see him as being an interesting card, a fair card. But interesting and fair cards aren't winning games anymore. Most times he's going to be the 11. There's very few cards that are going to boost him up past that 11 point. Let's find out what we get in the box for this week, though. Box says Cannonball. Nice. So come this Friday, I will be doing a video on Cannonball. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.